All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at IGNA.
IGNA.
Yeah, IGNA.
Okay.
A cryptocurrency, but with a bit of a twist. We've got white papers, we've got a light paper, a bunch of research snippets you sent my way.
Yeah.
And honestly, getting ready for this, it's a bit of a roller coaster. Like, did you know plastic waste could triple by 2060? Kind of scary, right?
Yeah, definitely a problem we need to tackle. And what I find really interesting about IGNA is that they're trying to bring blockchain and sustainability together,
Okay, yeah.
not just chasing profits, but actually making a difference.
So let's break it down. Everyone knows plastic is an issue, right? But these sources, they don't hold back. Over 8.3 billion metric tons since the 50s. And recycling, the old ways, they're just not cutting it, especially with those tricky plastics.
And it's not just an eyesore, right? It's landfills overflowing, oceans choked with plastic, microplastics even turning up in human blood clots.
Yeah, it's way beyond just looking bad. It's serious stuff. Feels like we're at a breaking point. But then these sources hit you with pyrolysis.
Pyrolysis.
Yeah, basically breaking down plastic with high heat, no oxygen.
Yeah.
Sounds like a game changer.
It's interesting because it doesn't just get rid of the plastic, turns it into something we can use, like pyrolysis oil, for fuel or other industries.
So turning trash into treasure. I like it. And it can handle all sorts of plastics, even the ones regular recycling struggles with.
Right.
Almost seems too good to be true.
Well, like any solution, it has its, complexities. But the benefits, getting resources back, cutting down on waste, that's huge.
All right, so where does IGNA come into all of this? It's cryptocurrency running on the Solana blockchain, known for being fast and efficient, right?
Yeah, that's right. And what's unique here is that IGNA is run by a nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
Yeah, based in Slovakia. That means transparency, every penny going back into the project.
So they're really putting their money where their mouth is, walking the walk on sustainability and ethics.
Absolutely. So let's dig into how the tokens work. Total supply, 1 billion IGNA tokens. They're doing it in phases, starting with a presale. 50 million tokens at 0.02 cents each to get the first plant up and running.
So you actually know where your investment is going, not just some abstract digital thing, but funding a real solution. Must be a big draw, especially for, environmentally conscious investors.
Totally. And here's another interesting bit. 10% of whatever they make selling that pyrolysis oil goes right back into buying more IGNA tokens.
Smart move. Keeps the token value steady and keeps the project going. Seems like they've really thought this through.
They have. And don't forget, it's nonprofit, so all that income goes back into more plants, more good causes, helping the environment and, financial inclusion.
Okay, so a win-win all around. Investors potentially making money while supporting a project tackling a global crisis.
Exactly. A model that brings money and real change together.
Color me intrigued. Now, the sources paint a pretty rosy picture, but are there any downsides, challenges they highlight?
That's a good question. The sources are generally positive, but they do say that for IGNA to really work, a few things have to fall into place.
Like what?
Well, for one, how well pyrolysis does depends on oil prices. If oil prices crash, could be tough for the plants to make money.
Makes sense. So not entirely risk-free.
No investment is, really. But
Okay.
it looks like IGNIS is taking steps to, manage those risks. They picked a blockchain that can handle growth. That nonprofit setup means transparency.
Right.
And that buyback thing helps keep the tokens stable.
Yeah. Sounds like they're being strategic, thinking ahead.
Definitely. But as always, investors need to do their homework, understand the potential rewards, but also the risks, like with any crypto.
Always do your due diligence, right?
Yeah.
The sources also mentioned IGNA is not just about one plant. They're aiming for a whole network.
Yeah.
Starting in Central Europe, then to areas hit hardest by plastic waste.
Makes sense. Those places with, not so great waste management, that's where they can make the biggest difference, show how valuable pyrolysis can be.
So it's not just profits, it's about going where the problem's worst.
Exactly. Big vision. But if they can pull it off, IGNA could really change the game when it comes to plastic.
Exciting stuff. And from what we've seen so far, they seem to have the right mix of, idealism and actually being practical about it.
For sure. It's encouraging to see a project not just about hype, but about real solutions to a real problem.
I'm definitely hooked. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. The sources dive into how the IGNA tokenomics work, the whole system. Can you walk us through some of that?
Sure. Like we said, 1 billion tokens total. Some went to the presale to fund the first plant.
And the rest get released during the public sale, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. New tokens only get released when a new plant's finished. So the more plants, the more tokens.
I see. So it's tied to real progress, not just speculation.
Exactly. And then there's that buyback thing. 10% of the money from selling the oil goes back to buying more IGNA
Hmm.
tokens.
Which keeps the demand up, helps keep the price stable.
Right. They've clearly put a lot of thought into the financial side.
They have.
Hmm.
And that nonprofit organization, they're like the watchdogs, making sure everything's done right, the money's used properly.
Like a guardian for the project.
Like,
And because they're nonprofit, they get tax breaks in Slovakia, more resources for building plants.
win-win all around. The sources also point out the risks. Got to be honest about those too, right?
Of course, no investment is without risk. And crypto especially, it can be volatile.
They mention things like, regulations changing, projects getting delayed, maybe even competition from other waste companies.
Those are valid points. Potential investors need to think about those risks carefully.
And it's good that IGNA is upfront about them, not trying to hide anything.
Yeah, transparency is key. They've laid out how they're planning to deal with those risks.
So there are risks, but they seem to be approaching it the right way, responsibly.
They are. For anyone new to crypto, remember, it's still a pretty new thing, always changing.
Got to do your research, understand the tech, know how much risk you're comfortable with.
Exactly. Don't jump in without knowing what you're doing. Aside from the money part, what stands out to you about IGNA's mission?
I like that they're actually building something, a real solution to a real problem.
Not just talking about sustainability, actually doing it.
And they're doing it in a way that's like innovative, working with communities, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, showing that you can make money and do good at the same time.
And that's something a lot of people care about these days.
For sure. Gives you hope that we can find new ways to tackle these big problems we're facing.
IGNA's definitely leading the way. Makes you think, if they can pull this off, what other impossible problems can we solve?
That's a great question. Before we go there, the sources talk about the people behind IGNA, their team. They seem pretty passionate.
That's important, right? A project is only as good as the people running it.
Absolutely. They've got a pretty detailed plan, like a roadmap, showing how they're going to build more plants.
So they're not just, jumping in all at once.
Nope. Very strategic, starting small, then getting bigger as they learn, refining the process.
Makes sense. Building a strong foundation.
Yeah, like starting with a small house before you build a skyscraper.
Exactly. And they're not just focused on the tech, right? The sources mentioned education programs, teaching local communities about waste management, how pyrolysis works.
Right. It's about empowering people.
Yeah, giving them ownership, making them part of the solution, that's key.
Absolutely. You mentioned oil prices earlier, how that could affect how profitable pyrolysis is. How does Ignefinus deal with that?
Good point.
Because, prices go up and down.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Well, they're really big on research, always looking for ways to make pyrolysis more efficient and to create different products.
So not just oil, but finding other ways to make money.
Right, having different options, different revenue streams.
Diversifying, spreading the risk.
Exactly. And they're also looking to partner with companies that can actually use those products, like the oil.
Closing the loop, right? Waste becomes something useful again.
Exactly. It's not just about one solution. It's like a whole ecosystem they're building around pyrolysis.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about this nonprofit thing. Not your usual setup for a crypto company. What are the advantages there?
Well, it really builds trust. Investors know the money's being used for the right reasons.
And it takes the pressure off, right? Not all about making the most profit possible.
Yeah, the mission comes first, solving the plastic problem, building a better future.
And you mentioned earlier, it helps them attract the best people who really care about the cause.
Right, it's about purpose, not just a paycheck.
And it opens doors to work with other nonprofits, maybe even governments.
Exactly, a whole network of people working towards the same goal.
The sources also talked about IGNA's charitable work, giving back.
So they've committed to giving 10% of the profit from each plant to environmental causes and to help people in those communities financially.
That's a serious commitment. Shows they're thinking about the whole picture, the environment, and the people.
Yeah, it's about creating a better world for everyone, giving everyone a chance.
It's a good example of how businesses can use their success to make a real difference.
Totally. It fits in with that whole conscious capitalism thing where businesses think about doing good, not just making money.
Now, I know some people might be a bit hesitant about crypto, especially with the market being so unpredictable. What would you say to someone who's interested in Ignis, but worried about the risks?
I'd say, look, every investment has risks, crypto or traditional stuff. It's about doing your research, understanding the project, and knowing how much risk you're comfortable with.
Don't just jump in because it sounds cool. Take your time, learn about it.
Exactly. With IGNA specifically, remember what we talked about, how well they do depends partly on oil prices, so there's that market risk.
But they're trying to balance that out with diversification, partnerships, and
Yeah.
all that research they're doing.
Exactly. And being nonprofit, that adds a layer of, accountability that can make investors feel more secure.
So there are risks, but they seem to be on top of it, thinking ahead, being responsible.
They are. And for anyone who believes in what they're doing and understands the risks, Ignis could be a really interesting investment, a chance to be part of something big.
It's definitely got my attention. Now, the sources get into the details of the tokenomics, the whole system. Can you break some of that down for us?
Sure. So remember, 1 billion tokens total. Some were sold in the pre-sale for the first plant.
And the rest get released in the public sale.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is they only release more tokens when they finish a new plant. So the supply of IGNA tokens grows as the project grows, in the real world.
Clever. So the token value is tied to actual progress, not just hype.
Exactly. And we can't forget the buyback mechanism. 10% of the oil sale revenue goes back into buying more IGNA tokens.
Right. That helps create demand for the token, which should help keep the price stable.
Exactly. They've really thought about the financial side of things.
They have. And that nonprofit organization, they're like the overseers, making sure everything's running smoothly, transparently.
Absolutely. And because they're nonprofit, they get tax advantages in Slovakia, which frees up more resources to build more plants.
It's a smart setup. Now, it's important to talk about the risks too, right? The sources do mention some potential downsides.
Of course, no investment is risk-free, and crypto in particular can be quite volatile.
They talk about things like regulatory uncertainty, potential delays in the project, and competition from existing waste management companies.
Yeah, all valid points. It's crucial for potential investors to carefully weigh those risks and make a decision that's right for them.
But it's good that Ignis is upfront about these challenges, not trying to sweep them under the rug.
Yeah, that transparency is really important in this space. And they've outlined their risk mitigation strategies, which is reassuring.
So while there are risks, it seems like Ignis approaching this with a level of professionalism and planning that's impressive.
I agree. For those who are new to cryptocurrency, it's important to remember that it's still a relatively new asset class. There's a lot to learn.
Do your homework, understand the technology, and know your own risk tolerance.
Wise words. Don't just jump in blindly. Beyond the financial aspects, what do you find most interesting about IGNA's approach?
I like that they're focused on real solutions, not just talking about it.
Yeah, they're walking the walk.
And they're doing it in a way that's innovative and collaborative, working with communities.
Right, they're showing that it's possible to do good and make money at the same time.
That's a powerful message. It gives you hope that we can find new ways to tackle these global challenges.
Absolutely. IGNA is a great example of that. It makes you think, what other seemingly impossible problems can we solve if we put our minds to it?
That's a great question. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the people behind Ignis. The sources highlight the passion and expertise of their team. They seem to have a really dedicated group of individuals.
Yeah, and that's crucial, right? A project is only as good as the people behind it.
Absolutely. And it looks like they've got a real mix of people, waste management experts, blockchain developers, marketing folks, the whole shebang.
Yeah, a real dream team. And what strikes me is how passionate they all are about IGNA's mission. It's more than just a job for them. They really believe in it.
You could feel that energy, right? It's not just about clocking in and out. They're part of something bigger.
Definitely. That shared sense of purpose, it's a powerful motivator. They're working towards a common goal, a vision of a future where we've got a handle on this plastic problem.
And it's not just about the tech, is it? They're out there talking to communities, building relationships.
That's right. They get that it's not just about the nuts and bolts, it's about people. They're educating folks about pyrolysis, addressing their concerns, making them partners in this whole thing.
That's got to be key, right? Building trust, making people feel like they own this solution. That's how you make real change stick.
Absolutely. And IGNIS seems to really understand that. They're not just saying, here's the answer, take it or leave it. They're working together with communities to find solutions that work for everyone.
And that's got to be the way forward, especially with something as big and messy as plastic pollution. It's about changing how people think about waste, not just coming up with some fancy tech fix.
Exactly. It's about seeing waste as a resource, not just garbage.
And IGNA's leading the charge there, showing how you can make money while tackling a huge environmental problem.
Yeah, they're a real model for how to do things differently. And if they can make this work on a big scale, who knows? Maybe it'll inspire other companies to think about things in a new way.
It's exciting to imagine the possibilities, isn't it? If IGNA can pull this off, it could open up a whole new way of thinking about how we solve global problems.
It really could. It shows what's possible when people get creative and really commit to making a difference. It won't be easy, there will be bumps in the road, but the potential is huge.
And it's not just about the big picture, right? It's about all of us, the choices we make every day, cutting down on our own plastic use, supporting businesses that are trying to do things right, maybe even investing in projects like IGNA. Every little bit helps.
Absolutely. It's easy to feel helpless when you look at the state of the world, but we all have a part to play. And when we all start making better choices, that's when real change happens.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into IGNA, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
Hope. IGNA's proof that we can find solutions, even for problems that seem impossible. They're innovative, they care about the planet, care about people. It's a reminder that we can build a better future, and every one of us can be a part of that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So if you're interested in learning more about IGNA, head over to their website, igna-crypto.com. You can read their white papers, check out their roadmap, even get in touch with their team. Who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to join them on this journey.
And if this deep dive has got you thinking about other cool solutions out there, don't stop here. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and never lose that spark of curiosity. There's a whole world of possibilities waiting to be discovered.
That's a wrap on our IGNA Deep Dive. We hope you found it informative, maybe even inspiring. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep on exploring.